This is fun. This is fun. Bro, you were talking about this. You talked about, oh, we haven't seen a deadlock on this map, although it's been a meta that we've seen more and more internationally. Well, guess what? Galores is running it.
Yeah, and they're starting with the defense side as well. So this is going to be super interesting. I think Galores is, I mean, they're coming in with a good game plan. They have the double senti on the defense side of Ascent. I think if Reta has not experienced this in the server, or if they have not had, you know, previous experiences dealing with this composition, I think they might struggle a lot on their attack side.
How hard is it gonna be though? On the side of Reta, you want to play your own game, but this deadlock sometimes, Emily, it just does not let you play your own game.
I agree. I agree with you. I agree with Roy. If they haven't had too many reps versus a deadlock, then they're gonna unfortunately struggle here. This is gonna be a very interesting match.
I'm excited with this composition that Galores is pulling up on the map of Ascent, and Reta going with that standard that has been one where they found success with in the past. Let's find out who gets a win of this map number 1 with their casters is Shift and Vance.
Yeah, it should be an interesting one here. And I think the thing is, you know, we weren't really sure what to expect. You know, last time that Galores did play this map, they did run this composition. That was after a long stretch of running what has been the only composition we often see in this map, fans. And it was a mixed bag of results. A lot of the losses were close, like 13-10s, 13-11s. But, you know, switching to the deadlock provided them success in the first time they tried it, but that was 2 months ago.
That's right, and it's not. That means it's not unfamiliar territory here for Reta. And again, as Dendry was mentioning before, in North America, this is pretty much coined by their Turtle Troop / Dead Zone.
Sure.
That started things off, and then everybody was starting to study this because it looked so dominant. But we'll talk about that in a bit. There's already early aggression happening towards middle as Galores, despite playing double senti, they want to fight for heavy mid control.
Yeah, this is interesting to say the least. And let's be honest, when we were watching this Gals team play earlier, they do love to try to get aggressive in weird ways. So we're already seeing Galores try to do that immediately. But not a lot of contest here. Reta just going to hold off just a touch, seeing that there would be a battle at mid if they want it. And instead, after that recon dart had kind of expired, they're going to take their focus back over towards A, where the barrier mesh has already expired.
And that's what makes sense. You place that wall on that side, super strong in the pistol round. You converge towards the middle because you have an active camera from Rude watching B main. So Reta did a great job. One of the key points you want to do here, playing against a deadlock off, is identify the wall if it's coming out right away.
Yep.
If it is, you can just wait it out, explode back into a site where you're seeing it now. Yurango's solo on A.
Yeah, good knife also coming through means that there is no opportunity for Yurango to hold on for too much. Luke show just as the door starts to close, a couple of taps going through, but none of them connecting for damage. So that's enough for Suter to get on, find himself the plant. Owl drone scouting out that, yep, Reta are fully here. Paranoia at the ready. That will connect. That should be the go call. It just comes down to can they actually get through at the same time, because there's a lot of smoke on top of the site, and Reta are really doing a nice job of controlling all the area denied, just down to Evil for the last. And well, he's gotten at least entry back on towards site. The problem is there are still 3 Reta members in hell, and it's not looking all that positive for this Crossfire setup. Rude able to get one, but yeah, nothing more beyond that. The Crossfire too strong, Vance.
And it's a great start. At least I said that it was huge here for Galores because they had a set plan, already invested it into a Paranoia. You still had the grab net available too, where when you look at the aspect of it on the pistol round, it looked like it was going to be all right. Well, Urango was going to get flooded, but he wanted to give up the site so that he could actually go for a trap play, recon dart along with the Paranoia, hoping to trap some players, net some players, and then flood back in. And it seems as though in the post plan, though, Reta identified that already and played outside of those areas and really focused down towards that double stack towards Hell, the crossfire from main, because Nagzet's watching that flank. And it was just good positioning in the post plan.
Also, something learned about that barrier mesh getting thrown early. You see now all of a sudden with weapon advantage, Reta trying to move very aggressively in towards A without even worrying about any of the utility that could be placed later on. Knife is also going to impede this defense just a touch as Nags, just by himself, gets aggressive through tree. That's going to get punished, so it's just a pistol upgrade, but that's enough information for Reta to say we're fine with the 4v4. Let's back up and see if we can find success somewhere else.
Exactly, and Nagzet walking in alone with a ghost. That's understandable, right? The knife already spotted 2 players towards the A side. He got 1 pick towards tree, so they know the stack was there towards the A site. And the grab net gets thrown, the barrier mesh gets thrown right away, as you can see, towards the B main, as soon as the call was there for Galores that the rotate came out from the A site. But a lot of time has already been passed. Barrier mesh is going to be a lot weaker, and it's going to be easier here for Reta to break this open and just go through. So you'll do the audio cue, bring that orb up for Suther and just explode in the site where there's actually still a cypher strips available.
Oh, the timing of Yorango nearly catches this entire offense on the crossover towards the backside of Sidewalk, but not going to turn out. And again, you wouldn't have expected too much action to unfold in favor of the defense when you're just dealing with a couple of classics. So,
and exactly that. So far, so good for Reta. I mean, they didn't look they were challenged in a post plan, neither on their entry and neither on the gamble stack that Galoris started at the very beginning that was read quite correctly by the defensive side. And that's something here that I agree that what Roy was mentioning on the desk. Reta, when they played against All Night yesterday on Ascent, they weren't challenged as much. There was like, we talked about Ascent being a map where you have to burn a lot of utility, and all that All Nights were doing was burning the clock without really breaking the util over on Reta on the defense. And that means that you didn't have a chance to really see Reta play on the attack too much because of that result, because Reta was just dominating on their side on defense. So this is still a great call for this team now of LATAM to take Ascent to their side, because there's still that ace under the sleeve that shows that they haven't showed their correct play style on the attack side of Ascent yet that now Galoris has to pay attention to.
Yeah, that's a really strong point. And it's one of those situations that, again, it's just a random happenstance of how the recent results have kind of come through. But yeah, I think it is important to note that there are some hidden gems here in terms of what we might be able to see. The other side of things, talking about this Galoris squad is, when we saw them play over the last couple of days, they really resort on Sato and Luxo playing well. If they don't have good games, this team really falters. So that's another part of it. Barrier mesh down, Shock Dart chunking a lot of this offense over towards the front side at B. Grab that also into play. I think it's a little bit deep, though. It does hold off a couple of members, plus the reveal is good. Sato turns that into a free first blood.
Great start. Trades are coming through as well, and Evil King is going to be flooded towards that back. 3 pairs though coming through. It's going to be difficult.
Wow.
So at least get 1.
Yeah, 1 is incredible for him. Again, this is just a bonus, but it was a formidable bonus at that for Reta. So Luxo, Sato, all able to clean things up. And again, that's the power of Deadlock. You just read where it's coming from. The barrier mesh is down. The Shock Dart hits for some good chunkage. Then all of a sudden you got the grab that gets placed behind it, splits up the offense. Easy pickings from there.
And they had the right numbers towards that site on that B side to do the trap play. Very similar to how they were trying to activate on a retake towards the A side. Instead of flooding now, you had the right numbers, so now you could slow players down when you do have Urango at the right spot here, as is Deadlock, to really not give a chance for players to get through past the dash that Snowzine's trying to do for Reta to gain space towards this B site. So very nice start, at least on the gun round to Galoris to make it clean. And Reta, though, you mentioned it was a bonus round that they had. They're going to have a very strong buy. And because of the previous rounds that they focused so much on Suther, on the amount of kills, assists, and plants that he's getting, and orbs, they have an old command to work with.
Yes. Could be massive in terms of shutting down the potential of that Deadlock. But look at the positioning. Galoris are just not holding by any of the front doors. They're going to put a sensor on really both the main entryways to both the sites. Barrier mesh at B will fade, but the Deadlock's going to stay alive through this. And you got to keep in mind that grab net can be thrown over the top of these walls pretty easily. So there is the opportunity to still assist, even if the Smoke Command does get popped over towards A. Opening spam shots do land for half the health of Sato, and he's forced into the action. Not a great opening start here for the Galoris defense, including the follow-up from Nags at mid-map.
Very easily done by Reta. They just decided to go for that push, but Nags called that wall coming down and didn't see any type of utility coming through. There was no pressure coming across, and it's going to stay quiet. They know now that Galoris are trying to play turtled up within that site. So Reta came in with that utility that they're good with to create that space, and look at Nags that just anchoring it down. Yes, he gets picked off, but that's good enough. He's like, oh, these guys are falling back just to try to save their weapons because, unfortunately, going into giving too much space for Reta to work with, you're now playing into a gamble of hoping your anchor players, being 1 or 2 players, hoping to get like 2 or 3 to make the comeback possible and the retake possible. You see the end result, though. Reta, easy pickings, easy take, and now the last 2 players of Rude and Urango, they have no choice but to save.
And the other part about that is, again, because they were able to isolate so quickly into Sato, null command never gets spent, so you still have that. Possibly, again, just to kind of keep this play from Urango deeper in towards the middle of the map, if not behind the sites. Important to note, again, we talked about the fact that Gallerus has played this composition once. They did it versus the 7 in their regional grand finals. Important to note there that Urango was 10-4 on defense, but 9-8 on attack. So, again, just kind of showing the effectiveness of this agent in particular. This is, again, Gallerus looking at it saying, we need to come across with 7 rounds on defense to feel good about this composition overall.
Yeah, I agree. When you're looking at the deadlock in your composition, a lot of fans and people who watch this game will also consider Deadlock being very good into your attack hits, because she could actually really block the line of not only sights, but line of control and block in lanes for players to prevent them from flip back within the site. But what's important here is when you're playing a defensive side, you would think that, okay, you're playing 2 sentis, so you can just anchor up all the time, but it's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
And you can already see when they started things off here at the beginning of this round, if you paid attention to that radar, is once that wall gets placed towards B main and Urango kind of like rotates over to help out towards the A side, when that barrier mesh is about to drop, it's actually Evil Kick that rotated over towards that B side so that they could use Silva utility to try to get timings on Recon Darts or Owl Drone at the minute mark. The reason why he hasn't used any of that to try to confirm that there was nobody lurking or trying to hit towards that B site is because they still had an active Cypher camera right in the middle of Pizza that could kind of really see like into the dash, the audio cues. And again, you're trying to just react on information that you're going to get a little bit more passively than you could when you're going to try to activate a little bit more of that Silva. So Evil Kick, I think at this point, after this timeout, will have to have that responsibility to really try to pinpoint where the defaulting is happening for Reta, because the playstyle is going to be very slow when you're playing the attack side against 2 sentis.
Yeah, again, and that's the thing about it is you have to get the intel, or you just deny it immediately to make sure there's no abilities that can be spent to say this is an interesting call here. Null command was immediately popped, but you can see obviously this is just a fake. I thought for maybe a second Snow was going to try to dive in to try to force the defense to rotate over, but the longer this doesn't occur, the more that Gallerus is going to sit here and say, oh, okay, we're chilling. We can just hang out and see if we can maybe hit a couple of long shots with these sheriffs.
Yeah, and then GrabNet just got thrown too, so that's actually just for I'm going to say, hey, we're potentially stacking within this site and then moving towards A. So they did play an anti-KO setup. Those 2 sonic sensors, the 2 trips are actually towards the A site. So they're hoping here that they delayed enough and prevented Reta from getting too much map control to really get into this trap of all this utility, these traps by the Sentinels towards the A site. But Gallerus once again pivoting all the way back, even from spawn back to B. And what can you really do at this point?
Yeah,
hoping you get a good timing off a knife.
Well, Luke Show. Oh, I was about to say he's trying to put himself into position, maybe catch someone off guard, but instead gets caught with a dark cover out. That was really the only win condition there, is to find an opening pick and slow this down from the front doors, because Urango is empty from utility, but these shock darts. Oh my, the defensive presence from Evil Kick has been great. Even though there is at least some sort of entryway in towards the site, these health pools are more than, I think, achievable to start tallying some eliminations.
But they lost Luck Show, and that's a key piece to retake. There's no more flashes. You have to be on point with the 2 rifles that you saved in that previous round for Urango and for Rude.
Here we go. Here comes the next retake. Recon Bolt gets them over towards the front side at the lever. Now it's time to, can you hit the shot? Urango good for the opener. Wait a second. Reza inside the site has been separated. Does well to catch a couple, but now it's just down to Muriz, and he is outside the play. And do they expect it? Well, now they will. Recon Bolt comes through. Spamming on towards the spike, but it's not in a great spot. And how about Rude saves the day? And that is a massive round for Gallerus, considering that they had really not done much in terms of stopping the hit initially. A brilliant follow-up, though, recontested the site.
And at the same time, again, they didn't have that utility trying to flood retake. It came down to aim battles and to making sure that going into the fundamentals of just tactical FPS, a buddy system, trying to bait out the ones with the lesser weaponry, your dash that comes in from the jet to create that space, to break crosshair placement, to give a chance for Urango to even sneak in for that 3rd kill inside that B site so that they could actually play the 2v1 towards the end. Reese really couldn't help at all. He was stuck at 10 HP for most of that hit. And that's a great start and a great look, rather, for Gallerus, where, you're playing backs against the wall. You're trying to play a composition that's trying to stall a lot. But when it comes down to, oh, we've lost this site and we may have lost a great amount of utility on these retakes, at the forefront, they do have the firing power to be able to make this happen still. So what I like about this is, you know, we looked at into the interview yesterday as well that Snow was talking about Dolores, that if they lost that game, they were going to play a little bit more, lose potentially because they have nothing to lose, and they would be a scary team. But they did win their game yesterday for Dolores.
Sure.
They're still in a race in contention to make it to playoffs. But their play style that we're currently seeing so far from Dolores still looks very loose. They're not really playing into what looks to be a little bit miscommunicated or falterings rather under the pressure. They're playing some very clean Valorant on the defensive side and very well under reaction. Now they just have to add that extra layer of trying to find that information a little bit more proactively on their defensive side too.
Okay. Well, hopefully we don't have to deal with too many of these because the action's starting to heat up, and I just want to keep seeing the chess game unfold. That's the biggest part about this. Because now we're starting to see, like, again, I think just an executable, you know, kind of evaluating how Reyna have looked from the offense. They've done well, you know, to try to put a little bit of stress on the Gallerist. I think there have been mostly a couple of the rounds that have been decided by individual misses or hits, and I think the most recent round is the hits that we started to see. But, you know, is there going to be enough with the null command now out of the picture for a little bit to assert that there is enough offensive pressure to put maybe a little bit more mixiness in towards this deadlock? You know, can we force that grab net out earlier than they maybe want to? There's a lot, I think, options in terms of how you can pull that, you know, again, trying to full fakes and maybe just dive in one player instead of the other. But it's really tough to kind of, I think, get an evaluation because if you don't go to the deadlock's direction, you still have to deal with a Cypher who can set up very passively. So it's just like, you know, there's a lot of different defensive variabilities, I would say, just because you're running double sentinel like this.
There you go, Chad. Just hit the replay button on that one so you can flip the setup for the Cypher on the B side. But this is what's missing. He's placing both grips on the B side. We'll talk about it a little bit later. We're being very proactive for that to try to hit towards that B side. But there is some sort of weakness that he can maybe exploit here from Dolores.
Well, the thing about this is with Snow getting into the site, as I say, it puts a lot of pressure and really eliminates the deadlock's presence, at least initially. But the spy cam is still up, and Gallerist is going to get a really good look at this. The Annihilation is also going to connect. That's on the suit there. He does get taken out of the cocoon, but the grab net follows up, and that's enough for Yorengo now to make his move down the stairs, but he only finds the first. But Sato, quick scope good, back and forth, pinstripe kill feed, 3v2 situation. Suther's still stuck on the site. And yep, that's all that Sato needs, is to eventually find the timing. And Muras, who again is the last one in, will also be the last one alive.
And this is where it's going to get dangerous because Sato already activated an operator. At least for Reta's side, they know that there's an op that's activated, and they can try to work that a little bit more into how they want to read that map. But Galore is so far from their setups, and now you can see the trip finally being placed towards middle as they realize there was no more pressure coming back here on this B site. But Rude has been placing a lot of double trips to anchor up and support
30 seconds
extremities
left
on sites. What's really holding the middle right now and giving information for Dolores in the past few rounds until this one right here was just a camera that was being set by Rude.
Yeah.
So now that you have Sato with the op, that you were able to place continue to place double trips and set sonic sensors on extremities because now you have an op that can take control of middle. And that's unfortunately something that hasn't been exploited on Reyna's camp, right? On the Reyna for the last few rounds, they've been playing as what I was criticizing all nights were doing. They were rotating all the way back towards spawn and just stop and go and trying to use null commands and knives to disable the sentinel utilities so they could flood within the site. But they're not doing enough in terms of trying to prod early in this game to see what the setup could be towards middle to find those exploits that they could potentially take. There's a lot of pressure they could do off these mid to B splits or catwalk to A hits, but they've only done that on the anti-eco when they had Nags run alone Ghost on tree while the rest of them were 4-man hitting on that A side. So it's still early in Valorant right now, though. There's still 6 rounds only played so far in the first half, but that's maybe something that has to start being activated a little bit more here by Reta.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good call. And ooh, Orb will get queued up, but that's enough for Evil just to say, okay, Hunter's Fury, you're not going to get any of that, and Delzik will fall in the first 2 bursts of the Hunter's Fury. And that pretty much puts this round a bit out of question. Blades are still involved, so maybe a chance, but no, Evil Kick right there with it. All the power weapons right here inside a tree. And I was about to say, you know, I had kind of agreed, why are we not sitting and trying to put a little bit more pressure over towards tree? But now that the op is in play, plus, of course, the Deadlock is holding on to utility, it just feels like tree is not an option when Deadlock's alive.
Or any type of presence towards middle, right? You never went for like a knife or a recon dart to scan the early rounds of the basic first step of trying to take mid control or at least some control of the sites. They're doing it towards the extremities, fair. But at that point, when Galores have realized that Reta hasn't really been adding that pressure towards middle, look at how aggressive Sato was watching the link. Look how freely Evil Kick could stand out on a catwalk to do a full line of a Hunter's Fury right into the A site, combined with the grab net from Morongo towards that side. So it was a trap play all along that was very well done by Galores. It almost looks the opposite way, where Reta looks a little bit afraid to really try to fight for their tournament lives here against Galores. A win for them would secure them a spot going into playoffs.
A loss would make, again, a multi-team 2-3 setup in the group stage, possibly start to come through for tiebreaker situations. So, again, lots on the line here. Sato taken down. Should be fine to collect the operator, though. Just carry it into the next round as Galores all of a sudden really coming to life here defensively. And the other part about this here, Vanson, you know, you talk a lot about the efficiency and the effectiveness that Evil Kick has. He doesn't have to use anything until there's a threat established somewhere thanks to the Sentinels. Now, of course, he starts this round off with a brilliant Hunter's Fury, just calls that basic board pickup, but when you've got the ability to pivot around both these two Sentinels, it makes the Aldrome that much nastier. It allows him to hit shock darts with more confidence that he's going to actually chip some damage away. And then, of course, beyond that, the recon dart is really one of those spots that, because everyone's focused on all the other standing utility between the Cypher and the Deadlock, sometimes you just forget about the recon bolt. He's gotten a nice couple of reveals already.
Yeah, and now already, as we mentioned before, something that he hasn't been using in the early rounds, and now he's doing it here with the recon dart on Link. So realizing here that B-Link is open, giving a chance now for Assassin to really set up. So you're talking about the support system around your star player as well. Luke Show really hasn't been tested at all, where we know how consistent he has been throughout this whole tournament and how good he's been. But so far, it's really been around just the Urango play on this Deadlock on the defensive side, and also this time Evil Kick with that combination of Urango that's adding a lot of these rounds for Galores and making it difficult for Reta to work. And you're looking in round number 8. What do we have? A 5-player stack up towards this B site, and potentially here we're just waiting for a knife to come back so they can maybe just get it thrown in and hopefully disable some util.
Oh, good nanostorm toss deep. That's going to hit the angle a little bit more clear. Hunter's Fury also heading on over towards Rue's direction. He's dancing with the devil and does stay alive. Now the hit, moving in from the front. Evil Kick lost his angle, so now he's just hoping and praying he can find some sort of a spam. And what a shot from Sato! Snowzen comes in completely uncovered. You thought maybe he had a freebie. Not the case. So now the spike gets planted. Reta's still trying to hold on with a little bit of a post-plant success rate over towards the backside of the boathouse, but that's not going to work out. And now you've got the opportunity for Sato to dive in with knives. There's still a paranoia. Dark cover's going to get placed first, and as soon as they clear out main, expect this paranoia to rip apart the site.
Stealing sight. Or the Odin.
Or that. Reveal also on the backside of the site, and again, ooh, not the nicest shots from Sato with the knives, but it doesn't make a difference. I mean, just the clearance of space for Galores defensively has been so good on these retakes, which I won't say is surprising. It's just not what you would normally expect considering the double Sentinel comp they're putting together.
We got him hyped up right now over here on the Galores side for sure, and they're definitely feeling the groove and finding the vibes of how good they've been on just A to Z. Maybe it looked like it wasn't that great from the pistol round, just because it's a trap play that they were trying to do towards middle that was unfortunately not the correct read, where they lost that pistol and the eco in their round for Galores. But ever since that, the post plant success rate for the retakes for Galores have been pretty much 100% since that pistol round lost. So they're looking really good here on just trying to fight back against Reta, who's trying to find different avenues, right? Maurice was so many times was playing outside of B main. This time tries to play towards the logs, sorry, but just outside of shock darts, Molly's radius, so he can try to get some value. But his gun's sticking out, he gets wall banged, and the rest is just history. Galores just continues to flood very, very well. I do like, at least though, from Galores' side, is that they, despite them looking to still group up as a 5-man hit towards the B main, they got met up by a lot of utility. You saw the nanostorms. There was a grav net that was, the barrier mesh that was thrown at the same time. You had the trap being played towards the back with that trip that was being set up so they could actually get some trap kills through the drops. But at least it was a little bit of answer coming back here from Reta to really break the utility and really not give a chance for Galores to get inside that site while the utility was being expended by the Sentinels, by the Sentinel players rather. And it gives them a chance to fight a little bit more.
Yeah, no, and here's the thing, you know, again, just kind of taking all of the individual round-to-round breakdown. You got to keep in mind that in the macro sense of things, Reyna, I think if you get 5, you're happy with it in terms of how this side would go. So they're still on par in terms of putting together a substantial offense, pardon me. Well, this time, it's going to be a quick one.
Yeah, definitely. And then we'll see what's going to happen on this 5-on-5 retake, though. There's great positioning still from Reta. All in play inside that side.
The paranoia does not hit any of this play through hell, though. That's the issue. So Urango gets onto sight punch. A couple, but whoa, Luke Show and Rude starts to put together maybe a heroic play here. No command was popped. So Suther is still in play technically, but he's being spammed out. And Goori's, once again, last one left, is not going to be able to deal with just the amount of overwhelming pressure that Galler has put together. And I think in a certain regard, I don't think Radar are expecting that the retake was going to come so suddenly, considering how fast they approach this A site.
And the amount of damage that Delzig is able to get at that range with a shorty. I wish my shorty was doing that damage at that length in my ranked games. But you bring up a great point into, yes, it looks like it's very one-sided for Dolores ever since they had their economy right. And you see that they are laughing. Sato is like, this is way too easy for us right now on the defense. But to look back, despite, again, a double sentinel composition for this team on the attack for Reta, it's still a very good composition if they're able to really explode within that site. We'll have to see for Reta if they have a game plan to play against Dolores' setup on that double sentinel on the attack. But this should be for Dolores to really try to get more rounds here.
No, for real.
With this double sentinel comp.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Well, there's been an answer for just about everything outside of the pistol here for Dolores. Mid has not really been a threat at all either, which I think, again, just also plays right into the hands of this defensive setup, especially with things like an Operator and an Odin on hand. It just, man, you just don't want to go through these choke points with both those weapons in play.
To start things off, you see that Reta is trying to insert Nagzet right into the B main, hoping to work and pick up an orb, and he was budding system with Maurice, so it works out. Now they have the drone, so now we have the clear. Some default ascent being played. They finally break the util, realizing that it's a camera and not going to be a trip.
Yeah.
And there we go. So right now, there's 45 seconds left. The wall already got instantly thrown. They know now that the deadlock was more towards the middle. There's not too much utility happening towards the A site, and now they're able to go for a split.
Good cage down from Rude, just has to spam through it. A couple of sound cues also coming through. Sato has to have his head on a swivel here, though. Oh, what a brilliant first shot. Does he get the second? Just a little bit off, dashes away to safety. Delzik trying to keep the play alive, but it's getting messy here for Reta. Annihilation also spec doesn't make a difference if it hits or not, because Sato is connecting with the Operator. 7-3 the count, and again, the economy starts to become more broken for Reta's offense.
Yeah, and it was not too bad. Despite them losing that round for the attack side of Reta, I still like how they worked around that map. They did what they needed to do. They went back for a catwalk split on a 4-1 this time around, focusing more towards tree. And I like that it's actually the Omen that stays here towards that A main, because he could still set up these smokes for the team. He still has a paranoia set up here to try to cross over towards the generator side, this flash, so that they could actually flood it within that site. But Sata was playing out in the open, just behind Dice. Easy pick, and really didn't give a chance right now for Renata to really cross over towards that line, especially when he hits 2 shots like that with the Operator. So that's going to put Renata into an eco, but you did see them try to prod the information very early within this round. A knife was already being thrown here to get information on middle. They had that recon dart coming out, trying to prod information also towards middle and catwalk. They realize here there's no pressure coming through, and they have a lower buy. They seem a little bit too further extended. That's the second time that they walked through here, Shift, and they're into middle, and they haven't crossed over a trip.
Yeah,
it's 10 rounds later, but 11 rounds later, but at least it's a start, you know?
And here's the issue, is that, it's finding success in this round, but hey, look at the weapon rates. It's not what you want in terms of actually breaking this open. And ooh, are they actually going to make him play through glass? They sure seem to want to. Sato, not sure if that was a blind shot through smoke or not. Regardless, it hits. Odin also ready to go. Swipe now down inside of glass. Oh boy, it just goes from bad to worse, man. And this is the presence of, again, just having the economy be in your favor early. Operator, Odin, no chance to go through middle. No chance to break through these interiors through tree. It just funnels everything right into the waiting arms of Evil and Sato, and they've been teeing up.
Yep. Economy building up quite early. The Operator, the Odin, the Sentinel's utility that never gets broken on that side. And again, there's finally some sort of life in terms of their working of how Reta is currently working that map and defaulting around, because we did talk about it, playing against double Senti, they are going to play a little bit more slower, but they were playing too slow without really trying to find information of where Galoris is really having that weakness, right? Because you are playing double Senti, but that means that you have less information if you grab by having one less initiator in that default call that you usually run.
You should run.
And that's going to be that chaos. You're missing a knife, you're missing a pop flashes. So
Well,
that could have abused that a bit more.
Yeah, definitely the case. Oh boy. Oh boy. Lockdown will still stay alive through this, and Evil will be completely detained by no chance to save him. And ooh, how about this? Odin from the high ground over towards the front side at Market. That'll work out nicely. And it leaves just Rude and Luke Show by themselves, trying to find a re-entry way. And with 2 Odins now in play, thanks to the pickup, this becomes very difficult. Miri's first one up. Good for the snap. Almost predicts the second decent transfer, but doesn't work out. It kind of looks like Rude is just trying to grab the body, and yeah, he eventually does. Could give him a chance at this if he can find a spray down through the wall. Suther is really, really low, but doesn't make a difference. All it takes is one headshot to find the Elim. And it's an 8-4 half. So, the pistol plus the follow-up really allows Reta to stay alive in the first half overall. But hey, you kind of stop the bleeding a little bit there in round 12 to make this a manageable half.
100%, but you can definitely see the definition of playing loose and confident here for Galoris. Pretty much gifting that last round over to their opponents as they were trying to go for flashy play. So getting that lockdown, trying to find the right moment to time a barrier mesh, and then a recon dart to potentially even go for the Odin spray to get some picks. It did actually net 3 players right into B main. But thankfully here for the side of Reta, when they got netted, they stayed behind the box where you can't spam through with the Odin to break the lockdown. You can't spam through the boxes also to get those players that were netted down. So that unfortunately just really tied, literally, Evil Kick in the back of the site as they were detained towards that back, and really allowed here Galoris to, for Reta to move in and play that pulse plan to the success that we just saw here on that 4-1 towards the end. So again, the playing loose, playing confident, and playing very, very, confidently that you're going to make it through the groups. And this is going to be a scary look right now for Galoris as they're going to take the attack side.
Yeah, this is where, again, just kind of repointed in case you're joining us here late. When you saw this composition be played by Galoris, we need to figure out what we're saying. It's been both. It depends on what mood we find ourselves in. Exactly. But you go back to the last time they played this map. Again, it was about a month and a half, almost 2 months ago, versus the 7 in the grand finals. Defensively, Urango was incredible, 10-4. Was not needed to be a part of first blood engagements. He was 0-2 in them, but still, he stayed alive. He had great assistance across the entirety of the map. When they swapped the sides, though, he was only 9-8, which is still very serviceable. Let's not get it twisted, but the impact is lessened. I think most importantly here is that if you're looking at this from Reta's point of view, you cannot allow post-plant situations to come through with numbers. You have to be contest heavy early, because if the deadlock stays up with the Cypher in a post-plant, good luck. You're not breaking through that.
And so far, they really want to make sure here they're going to try to hold back as much as they could. Already starting with a one-way towards a main. The turret's going to try to get the most active information as it can from its spot on top of the brown boxes to look towards main. Knife also, so you're talking about that. You can't allow Galoris to really get within that site. An early knife went towards B. They really want to try to prod that information early. But it only catches a Cypher towards B. And they're not moving out of that because they're still afraid that for Galoris' side, it's just going to be, let's make it known that he's there. We can bring it towards the B side. But there you go. Now they go hit towards the A side. The barrier might come due. And it's going to be hard now for Reta to go for the retake.
Yeah, this is not going to feel good whatsoever. And that's the thing is, like, we're going to expect that Rude's going to be the last one into these sites on offense. He's going to be lurking the entire time, just trying to put some pressure on the map. And then as soon as he gets over to help the post plant, he could be just about anywhere. Ooh, that barrier mesh did not get over the wall. I saw it on the mini-map and I was like, it looks a little off, but I'm not the judge. Not a deadlock man.
Sometimes the tentacle is extended. It should still do its job, but not this time around.
Here comes the redash back in. Snows it. Good for the first. Traded out immediately. Defense working their way in over towards the tree door. And that's not going to work out because down low, Sato and Urango put everything together. They're going to find all 5 between the two of them. And the pistol, a massive one, goes the way of Galoris.
You know, when the wall doesn't work out for the deadlock, at least he had the wall of bodies to prevent Reta from really getting back into the site. So many players posted up towards Hell, and not enough here to try to flush them out in terms of utility or even bodies to move through to get these trades. And look at that. 3 players already moving right there by Dice, by Double Hell. They really locked down that area on the post plant end. Great start now for Galores to get this pistol on their side. Now the economy is flowing through in Reta. Well, they have no choice. They have to go for a full eco so that they can get the best weaponry as possible going into the anti-bonus that Galores will bring.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not a good start here for Reta. I mean, it's just one of those things, again, you don't want to wade too much into it because, you know, it just is what it is when you play up against a deadlock, especially when you're on the offensive side. But not winning this pistol and likely losing this essentially means that you're playing down 10-4 and you have to start stringing together something formidable off the get-go. Otherwise, this game just turns into it's done. I mean, if they get to 11 with good operator possibility in Sato, I just don't know how you deal with Galores with that much of a lead.
Now it comes down to what Galores is going to do, because there's a great read from Reddit that the stack towards this B site, and the turret's going to be the first one. Actually, I just think he got recalled, unless he got shot here by Root. But I think he got recalled so that Reddit could not make them think that they're stacking towards this site, and I respect it.
Oh, good reveal coming through. Sato just pushing the issue right down the sidewalk. Holds off just a moment. Knife in play. We'll put a bit of a pause. And now it's just down to Delzik to find some timing here behind the play. Because on top of the site, it's not working out all that well. But yeah, here comes Delzik. Able to find himself one. Nothing more behind that, though. And Snow, backside in the arches, can really do nothing but watch his friends fall. So 10-4, a couple eliminations. Decent, but with the plant, it's going to be very easy to kind of put yourself back into bonus form, so to speak, looking at this for Galores.
That's right. It's on a capital W for a round win, but you've done some good econ damage, at least for this stack. And the reason why I wanted to respect if it was a turret that was being recalled is the fact that if you actually drop that turret and they break it, because your forward position of the turret allows for you to give a tell that you probably have players very close that's trying to swing out the turret or trying to set up that crossfire right after. So if he recalls it and they don't, or if they broke it and he didn't recall it and nobody swings out of that, then there might be an indication that the stack was actually happening here towards the B site. So if it actually did recall it for Nagzit, that was actually the smart play to allow this econ damage to happen against Galores. So a chance to fight, because this is a lower buy that they have now on the bonus. It's not as strong because they had to repurchase into armor, and there's half shields for a lot of them.
The thing about it, again, though, is if they can find a way to get a plant, and even more so, a first blood, this all of a sudden, again, turns into the power of the abilities. The weapons almost don't matter at this point. Snowzen trying to still lock down this angle, topside at heaven. Suther nearby. Knife will reveal, looks to just be one. So it doesn't really give too much information, especially with this mid play coming right down through tree. This is going to split the focus completely.
At least it's the initiative that they actually fought. So that's probably a tell that there's a lot of players around that solo.
And now it's just down to what Suther can find by himself. Will flash out of the cyber stage, has the 1v1 versus Rude, and in the same breath, Snowzen has hit over towards A. Not once, but twice! Annihilation was also in, so Muris will fall, but that's just really good defensive holds from the two individuals around the A site. Evil Kick gonna give it a go. 1v3 now down to a 1v1. And oh boy, has he called that Nags is gonna want to try to challenge this? Bluff on both sides, though.
Staying quiet, too. That's going to instill the paranoia into Nagzit, thinking that he might have just booked it back towards the B site. So he has to play a little bit further back so he can hear the sound cue. So this is going to be allowing Evil Kid to get the plant and reposition against Nagzit, who will not have any information whatsoever.
This is all down to how good is the Spidey sense. Nag's going to go over towards the small drop down, not making any noise. The prediction was in for Evil Kick, but Nags just drops underneath the pre-aim, and a huge win for Reta. Again, that's into the bonus, though, so there are still a lot of things that Reta's going to have to do, but at least they stave off Galores from getting to 11.
And the pathing is good there for how you guess where your opponent could be for Nagzit on that retake, on that 1v1. it's planted tight towards the generator, or for a main, or for somewhere within the site potentially held. And the packing that you do, if you're moving in towards 3 on the 1v1 on the attack side, you're not planning for yourself. So Nagzed makes sure that he fully clears from the top of heaven. Nobody's peeking out here from the top, from the front of a site. So he just gambles that it's going to be a 50-50 towards hell, and he guesses correctly to convert that round. And they mentioned on the desk, there was a lot of these rounds where it wasn't for Nagzed, they probably wouldn't have had like a dominant victory as dominant as it could have been against All Knights yesterday.
Yeah. Guardian trying to get some chip damage on the other side. Odin for Rude, and oh boy, they even fade Snows into peeking. So now the operator's off the table. Offense now overwhelming and threatening this B site, and it's just, here I am. Nope, never mind, there's my teammate. It's just this little bit of bait and switch between the stairs and the sidewalks, and that's enough to get the spike safely on for a plant.
And how annoying is that? It's actually a bunch of utility within that side, keeping the trip from Rude, the second one, instead of watching an aggressive flank for a push from the catwalk or from A main, he uses it to actually play a turtle position with the rest of his team within this B site. A Vera mesh was thrown at the same time too, and they realized now with the time remaining that we're trying to save the op now for Reta. So they have to hunt him down, or they're confident of hunting down, or trying to find that timing first. They're gonna hear Rongo, but Rongo's been really good so far in this map.
Not gonna be good enough to get through the one shot though. And that's going to likely mean that Reta will hold on to this op unless there's an overpeak somewhere, but likely not going to be allowed to happen. They're just trying to get some more damage dealt. And that will be the end of it. Okay, so 11-5. Yes, the op is being held on to, but now we have to start talking about the offensive ultimates that are in play. You want to talk about, again, maybe some of the difficulty in cracking the code with 2 Sentinels from the attacking perspective. Hunter's Fury's at the ready. You almost got Blades ready to go for Sato, and that's enough to section off these 2 sites to allow your Sentinels a little bit more freedom to move on in.
Yeah, and now when you're playing, you know, Hunter's Fury and trying to be proactive on those entries, and you don't have the KO to find the information with a knife at the same time while you're trying to drone or whatnot, it's nice the utility that you have with sonic sensors or with cameras at the same time. Like if you're trying to throw a camera aggressively around the Hunter's Fury and you're seeing that it gets broke instantly, then it already gives you a tell of where opponents could be. So you don't have to try to like chase around within a drone and try to get a pick and maybe surprise some opponents there. Yeah. But they're realizing here that, you know, they had a slow start at the beginning here of this tournament and then started turning things around, but this is a much needed win for them if they want to guarantee a position going into playoffs. So you have to really try to muster back that courage and that confidence to really bring it back here at this point, because yes, it started off very well of how they played their first and second defensive rounds, but ever since, or first and second attacking rounds, but ever since then it's been glorious all around and all over the place, from extremities to middles to retakes and now to even post plans.
Wow. It's been an outplay. I mean, this has been out flat out.
Yes.
Gallerus is outplaying Reta in every step.
Reta's back there.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, this is interesting. Delzic's going to dive a little bit deeper in towards mid. Surely Gallerus will not allow this to go uncovered, though, considering that you can see the smoke, you hear the teleport. See if they're taking a couple of shots for mid. Actually, now all of a sudden forces Delzic to have to get out of there, and ooh, a little bit more chip damage still comes through. Murray's still over at the side, looking to maybe back up some sort of this threat, but at the same rate, you also can't drop a tree here, so lots of pressure, but first shot lands, and that puts Sato out of commission. And the second clean with the headshot, while still avoiding the Hunter's Fury. Nags on the other side of this. He's got an operator, and how is this the round that Reta's going to put together?
I love it. I love that angle on that tree, and Maurice really needed to step up right there, and if it wasn't for him, that was definitely Galores moving into this A site. So you didn't use a Cypher camera utility, you didn't use any of the deadlock sonic sensors. It was trying to get contact off Sato. He's going to be the first entry point. If he misses the shot, at least he's going to be the human drone that's going to be able to allow for them to get the Hunter's Fury trap
30 seconds left
from Gelato. But for Maurice, gets two kills on top of that. That doesn't give you a chance here for Galores to really activate and move forward around their Hunter's Fury and go for a successful A split.
Right here.
You're definitely seeing here with remaining before 40 seconds, they had no choice but to save their weapons into the next round. A great hold by the IGL coming out here from the Reta side.
Absolutely. Now they're on a little bit of a hunt, as they're going to be able to collect at least one Vandal. there, gets a read, tries to go for the wide swing, and Evilkick is not interested in that. Rude still holding his back. So the Odin will exist into the next round for Galorus, at least with one more Vandal. But this is absolutely what the doctor ordered from Odin. He's again just dancing alongside the Hunter's Fury, still finding two. Nags goes a bit unchecked with the operator. Very clean opener, and from there it's just runaway round, which is exactly like we said. It gets them right back into the picture, especially from the economy standpoint.
And super important for them to have that type of buy that they had going into this round. Putting the op onto Nags that we know in the chamber meta, or going back in 2021, it was a very strong offer here for crew. And then they had the Bladestorm onto Snowzine to hold the other extremity, and they went for a 4-1 stack towards the A site. So it was a perfect read, but they didn't even need to cross the line of scrimmage here before Reese was able to get those 2 kills and not give a chance for the rest of Redetta to shine. But you'll take that any day if your IGL could start popping off here, and the rest around could hopefully build that confidence back in their favor. So you definitely see going into round number 18, Pop goes back in the hand of Snowzine, still locking down this B main.
Oh, decent read here from Delzik. Yeah, he actually throws a very early paranoia right over towards Tree. And how about it? Right, they get the perfect adjustment for this deep play over towards Glass. You see the barrier mesh was also thrown. That was supposed to be isolation there for Galorus, but it doesn't work out whatsoever. And that was a preemptive paranoia, followed up by the dart cover. I think there may have been a flash over the top as well. Just everything really combined nicely with the isolation from Raiders defense.
100%, and that was off the amount of util that was being thrown, from Galorus' side into the garden. Throwing the mesh, trying to break the window, trying to flood and pinch back from the A side. So you flip, really, not necessarily the map, but just one portion of that map on the A side. And the defensive side tries to flood through the doorway and let everybody flood towards the heaven, where they actually did have a crossfire setup still towards that spawn. So a nice, once again, position by Reta with another early 4-1 positioning, and then Snow realizes that there's no peaks, there's no utility being used here
10 seconds
from Galorus' side on the attack on B. Well, he'll just stay there, and you're going to have 4 players on the other end. Good enough here to hold off the push from Galorus. Now it's time for Galorus, that's been doing good here on taking mid-control here, Shift, but they got to start looking at these extremities on both ends, especially when you're playing this double Sentinel comp.
Well, the good news is now they've got the Odin and the Operator. I mean, not to make it sound like the map is one-dimensional where you have those, you win, but it definitely helps. I think especially
this on the first map.
Exactly. I think it's just the thing about it is like the Odin spam is just something you always have to worry about from the offensive side, especially as you try to approach over towards B. So it really feels like, again, those extra tools on the table limit your options. And when you deal with a squad that is double Sentinel, just trusting that you're going to find good control of space. I mean, your only initiator is off of what you find information-wise from Evilkick. It's just your ability to flash and dash is just not there. So you have to use the map control best you can if you can even find it. And when those 2 tools are on the table, it just feels pretty impossible to do.
Yeah. And now you're seeing the battle of the extremities. A nice spotting 3. The camera pushing towards B main here from Rude's side. Unfortunately here, it's a much lower buy that you have. The Bladestorm activated for Sato.
Right here.
As it controls the orbs towards the A side. Grouping up now towards B. So it did get a ping onto 1. They know there's an Odin spray, and there's no turret up for Nagden. So for Galorus' side, they know they're playing the default of the weak side towards B because of that KJ and Odin utility. And they maybe want to try to exploit that at first.
It's just so tough because, again, there's no way to get these blades into play besides just hoping that Sato can just go crazy. And you don't have the ability of flashing. You have no paranoia here either. So you really have to hope that Evil can cause some distraction here at B while the rest of the team tries to overwhelm at A, but that's not the case. Suther still has a flash and a fragment.
30 seconds left.
Snow is not in position, but close enough to maybe deny some space to the Operator. And here comes the commit. Grab that down in the back. Delzik in trouble, and that will work out. Follow-up flash is not good enough for Suther. At least not initially to get the clean kill, so Rude will follow up, but a barrier mesh is now down, and Snow's in. Only saw the hood of Luke Show, cannot connect, and that's enough for a plant.
And that's where it gets difficult for you to try to retake without you can't break that barrier mesh. You have no choice but to wait and reposition. With everybody repositioning towards Tree, there's once again so many players within the side.
Nice shot. Need more than that, though.